Welcome to Phantastic Physics. So today we're going to do a little demonstration with this bowling ball pendulum. I just took a 10-pound bowling ball, connected it to this rope, which is hung from the top of this punching bag stand. I also have some weights down here. There's a punching bag kind of holding things down and a few more weights on this side. And that's going to hold this whole thing in place because when I swing this ball, it's going to want to rotate this frame. And I just want to keep everything nice and steady. Before I do the demonstration today, please check out the link to the Phantastic Physics store in the description for this video. We offer a full year high school physics curriculum perfect for teachers, for parents, for students, and for anyone who's curious about the wonderful world of physics. All right, so let's dive right into the experiment. I'm going to pick up this ball here and stand on this side, and I'm just going to hold it right under my chin. In fact, I'm going to touch it to my face. So we're going to get nice and close here, and then I'm going to let it go, and let's see what happens. So here we go on 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to try to be very brave and not move. Oh, that was close. So I've done this many times before, and I know it's not going to hit me in the face, but even so, it's one thing to say that, and it's a whole other thing to not flinch. So let's do it one more time real quick. 3, 2, 1, go. Now, this is a physics video, so I want to break down the physics of why that ball, A, will never hit me in the face, and B, what's going on with the energy involved in this system. So stick around and find out. Okay, so let's talk about the physics of what just happened here. So basically, the ball was hanging here at position 2. I pulled it up to position 1 on my diagram right next to my face, and I let it go. It swung down through position 2, up to position 3 on the other side, and then came back towards my face. But you remember that it didn't quite reach where it started. It came up a little bit short. Lucky for me, because it didn't hit me. So the first thing is, when I raised it up from position 2 to position 1, I'm actually increasing its height by this amount. So wherever it started, if I measured up to where it ended, so imagine a dashed line here, this difference in height from start to finish, that's what we're going to call h. And I'm going to do a little bit of an equation here, okay? So when you lift an object up to some height above the ground, like this pen, for example, you give it what we call gravitational potential energy, also known as GPE, okay? And that is the energy contained in an object due to its position above the ground. And that energy can be calculated. So it would be the mass of the object. In this case, that's the mass of the bowling ball, which I actually did get before this experiment. That's 6.5 kilograms. You do want your mass in kilograms for this calculation. And then it's multiplied by G, which is known as the acceleration due to Earth's gravity. So that's the rate at which things accelerate when they fall. And so G on planet Earth is 9.8 meters per second squared. And all of that's multiplied by H, which is the height that you raise your object. So for example, the height that I lifted this pen. And if I multiply those three quantities, the mass times G times the height, I calculate how much energy it has. And then when I release it, it falls, or when I release this bowling ball, it starts to swing, okay? So we know how much energy the bowling ball had at the very beginning. That can be easily calculated. And it turns out there's something called the law of conservation of energy. Law of conservation of energy. And this law tells us that whatever amount of energy the ball had while it was being held here at position 1 must be the same energy all throughout this system. So on its entire journey from point 1 to the other side and back again, that amount of energy should be constant. So if I calculated its gravitational potential at the beginning and I got 1,000 units of energy, it should have 1,000 units of energy all throughout, okay? But that's assuming that there's no energy loss from this system. So in real life, the ball is actually losing energy over time. So can you think of a reason why this bowling ball might be losing energy over time? What could that energy be turning into? Well, it turns out there's friction right here at the hinge where the rope is tied to that carabiner there. And that friction, as it rubs together, is actually going to cause some of this ball's energy to be dissipated as heat. So it turns into heat, and that's energy leaving our system. So wherever you see friction, that's causing some of this ball's energy to exit the system as heat. How else is it losing energy? Well, it's also feeling air resistance all the way through its journey. And that air resistance is also sapping some of this ball's energy, and that is being converted into heat as well. So there's two sources of energy loss due to heat, and that's from the air resistance and from the friction here. And because this ball is losing some energy due to that energy loss, by the time it gets back again, it has less energy than it began with. So now it's only able to reach this spot because this little difference in height here represents the amount of energy that was lost, okay? But if there was no friction, if there was no air resistance, if this ball never lost any energy on the journey, it would have gone all the way up to point 3, come all the way back again, and tapped me right on the chin. It would have ended its journey right where it started, okay? But an interesting application of this experiment is if we know energy is conserved, and we assume that there's very little friction and very little air resistance, because remember, it's not really much. It was just a slight difference at the end. If we assume this ball's energy at point 1 is the same as it is at point 2, then we can say that its kinetic energy at point 2 is equal to its potential energy that we calculated at point 1. And so we actually have an equation for kinetic energy as well. That is 1/2 mv squared. And so we already know the mass of the bowling ball. That can be easily measured. And this energy has to be equal to this energy that you started with, because energy must be conserved. So if I calculated that as 1,000, at this point, I can plug that same number in here, plug in the mass of the ball, and I can actually calculate how fast this bowling ball is supposed to be moving when it reaches point 2. So at the moment it passes point 2 on this diagram, when it reaches its lowest point, I can actually predict the ball's velocity just by assuming it has the same energy here as it started with up here. And that's a pretty neat trick. And I actually do this calculation with my students. And then what I do is I put a laser sensor at the bottom. And so when this ball passes the laser sensor, my computer will read out the velocity, and I check my calculated velocity versus that readout, and I'm able to get that number within 2%. So it's very, very accurate. So even though, we're ignoring that small amount of energy loss, we can still very accurately predict the maximum speed of this ball when it reaches the bottom of the swing. Thank you for watching Phantastic Physics. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more interesting physics content. Goodbye for now, and remember, it's a fantastic universe out there, so stay curious.